Carlos with the U.S. Open and, that all-time performance against Jannik. And then the end of the year indoors has proven to be, and this is judging Carlos against his own shadow, which is enormous, right? Mm-hmm. So this isn't judging Carlos against most people. This is judging Carlos against superhuman Carlos. Seems to kind of have a hard time finishing the year where he's a guy who relies on electricity from the crowd. He likes the atmosphere. He likes the show. He likes being an entertainer. And then you get to this part of the season where you're outside for like 4 minutes of daylight every day, right? Like you're walking into the venue and it's light, and then you're walking out of the venue and every place you're playing it's dark at 4:15, and it feels like, hopefully I say this correctly, but Sinner is maybe better suited personality-wise to go in, get the job done, leave, where Carlos maybe needs to get inspired a little bit more. Maybe that's a reach, I don't know, but also I don't think it's nothing. The fact that Carlos is kind of, admittedly, and this isn't my opinion, so save your things, but Carlos saying like, I'm beat up, I'm mentally exhausted, it's a long season, whereas you're not hearing that as much from Sinner, and people are like, oh, well, there's a big difference between the two, and I'm going, oh, or one had 3 months off during the year, JW.
Yeah, one. I was wondering where you were going. It's an interesting. I want to go back to what you were saying about sort of the spirit and the energy, because I think that's not something you hear. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it's a lot easier to finish strong when you've had a self-imposed 90-day break and didn't play a match between Australia and Rome. Mm-hmm. I mean, the consistency of both these guys.
It's remarkable.
Before Alcaraz lost that match to Cam Norrie, kind of a lefty, tricky, metal, sort of a nettlesome opponent who can. That was the first time Carlos entered an event between Miami and now and didn't at least reach the final or win. That's an interesting thought, though. I mean, Nadal didn't tend to finish particularly strong either, but I think that was much more about just sort of the physical wear and tear and then X months of hard courts. I do think it's interesting that not a lot of indoor tennis being played in Spain, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I think, do you think that's an interesting point? I mean, did you sense that when you play? And yeah, exactly. It gets dark very early now in Europe, and you're playing indoors, and the crowds. It's not Carlos's energy.
It's also before, but also the people who are super, like, you go indoors, and depending on how the court is laid down, every week you're playing, it's a not native tennis arena. Or you go to Arthur Ashe Stadium, and that's a native tennis arena. It was built for tennis. You go to Roland Garros, it was built for tennis. You go to Wimbledon, it was built for tennis. You go to Indian Wells, it's built for tennis. You go into these indoor kind of fabricated, putting it's either built on wood or it's just a temporary surface. The bounce is normally muted. You don't get as much value for being able to be creative, right? The bounce is muted. So Carlos trying to flip a lob up over someone's head and then play it down and mixing up, it doesn't track as much. Same with Rafa. Rafa ripping spin over someone's shoulders, all of a sudden that's just slightly below their shoulders. That changes everything, right? So I think surface dependency is one part of it. And then I think that layering into, do I care the most? And not saying like they're dismissive of it or they're not putting in effort, because these guys are all effort. But just, am I already kind of peeking through to next year? Carlos, you feel like he's hanging on just to try to hang on to that number one ranking, right? And it's going to come down to the finals.
How much? The obvious answer here is it's case by case basis. It depends on context. But once you've become number one, how much do you care about being number one? I mean, all this talk about sort of Carlos has to do X and Jannik's defending his title at the finals. Once these guys have already been number one, do they really care about getting it back?
Here's what I would say. I would say they probably care about it 0 on a week-to-week basis during the season. So May, June, July, it's a moving target. Once you've been number one and you're number 2 by 10 points, I don't know. Are you worse than you were a week ago? Probably not. I think year-end number one holds a certain amount of prestige, and especially when these two are eyes wide open on, we are going to be the two guys. Like I know Pete. I know I know how many times specific players have finished year-end number one. It is a big, prestigious number that only a few can talk about and understand. And so I think,
say it. I'll gas you. Say it. You're one of them.
Well, sure, but and I'm going to get to my personal story, like at the end of the year, kind of grinding through with that carrot. But yeah, I do think it matters to them. I don't think it's as simple as during the year, if you've been number one and all of a sudden you're number three, you probably just care about slams. But I think, listen, we both are in striking distance. We both have a legitimate path to number one. I think you said Carlos, if he sweeps round robin,
he gets it back on Monday once
because
Sinner's
the
points
52-week
fall
ranking. So Sinner won World Tour Finals. The first time I won is because points fell off, or I got to number one is because points fell off.
Okay.
And to your point, JW, I got to number one, and I wanted to finish the year number one. Like I was almost more heavily motivated to finish number one than to just get there. But they both have a path. Sinner's points fall off. Carlos is going to be number one going in. Has to win, either sweep round robin, make finals, to secure the number one ranking for the year. But yeah, I think ending the year number one matters. Now, what'll be interesting is, let's say Carlos somehow sweeps the round robin. My personal experience with 03, I think I ended up winning 70 plus matches that year. It was like I didn't take a lot of weeks off. Burned by the end. Like you were feeling like a hollow soul of emotion and everything else. And I personally, I listened to, there were three of us that went into that tournament with a chance at number one. Roger, Ferrero, and myself. Roger had the narrowest one. I think once I had won a match or two, he was gone. And then Ferrero had a look at the basket. And my personal experience was listening on a cell phone, because that was before you had like the live app updates and everything. A friend of mine was in the stadium in Houston at World Tour Finals. Agassi was playing Ferrero. At the third set, I'll get some of the details wrong. Basically, I'm listening to Agassi serve the match out. And if he serves it out, then I'm number one. So I'm literally listening to Andre serve the match out. I hear the crowd go crazy, and I have that moment where it's like, it's done.
That's awesome.
You're year-end number one, and like the nature of your childhood idol securing your
I was just about to say that
thing.
How sick is that?
Was pretty cool. A funny story was then, to your point, JW, of like these emotional sets at the end of the year. I wasn't even thinking about winning in Houston when I went there. I was thinking about winning this match, securing number one, securing number one, securing number one. If you'd have told me you could win, this is not statistically possible, but you could win that tournament, I didn't even, it wasn't even as if I was thinking about an entire week. I was like, let's wrap this thing up. Let's win your group. So win a couple matches. Andre closes. I lose to Rainer Schüttler the day after I become number one. And I felt like I was just searching for something. It was a day match. I show up. I know that there's this big presentation after I play that match that's going to give me the world number one trophy. Ex-President Bush, the OG Bush, not W, lived in Houston and was always at the tennis, and he agreed to present me with the number one trophy. And so this is an aside, but it's a good story. And so he comes out and he's like, "Oh, congratulations, and tough one today." And he was there watching, and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think I had it." And so we do a couple of photos, and I'm sure you can Google it and see it, but he always had a sense of humor. He's a funny dude. And so we had to hold up like the number one finger, like we, finished number one. And he kind of leans over and kind of covers up his mouth, and then he goes, "Well, after your match this afternoon, I bet you want to give everyone a different finger, don't you?" Which I thought was.
I think I found the picture
yeah,
of it.
I thought it was pretty good.
Look at that. You're laughing, and he's just.
That's it.
snickering.
That's exactly. I'm laughing, and he's laughing because he realized he just got one.
We'll put it up on screen. Put it up on screen.
He just hit me with it, but he was a good sport. But to your point, JW, it's like these weird emotions and dealing with end of year, and it's like FAA this week is a perfect example.